When the earthquake struck, Romeo instinctively shielded me with his own body and ended up with multiple fractures all over. In the hospital ward, the girl in the next bed said enviously, "Your husband didn't even care about his own life just to save you. He treats you so well." I forced a smile. Yes. But just last night, after I fell asleep, he slipped into the bathroom and spoke softly to the young girl he kept outside as his secret lover. "I'm fine. Don't cry, good girl. When I think of you, I'm not afraid of anything." Romeo and I were childhood sweethearts. We grew from each other's first love to where we are now. 10 years. A model couple praised by everyone. No one knew he was keeping a substitute outside. Someone who looked exactly like me at 18. When we first got together, I discovered Romeo's secret in the 5th year of our marriage. On the way back from a business trip, the bus I was riding in got into an accident. Fortunately, I had listened to Romeo and fastened my seatbelt right after getting on. I only suffered a minor injury on my lower leg. In the examination room, a young girl next door was crying on the phone to her boyfriend. "It hurts so much. When can you come pick me up?" "Okay. I'll wait for you like a good girl." She hung up, smiling with her eyes curved in delight, clearly coaxed into happiness by whoever was on the other end. Her gaze fell on me, and she spoke with naive curiosity. "Big sister, you're hurt too. Why don't you call your man to pick you up?" I froze for a moment. "My husband is busy with work. He doesn't have time to come." She tilted her head, the smile at her lips impossible to hide. "Then you're kind of pitiful." She was still very young, and the way she bragged was as blatant as a child waving a trophy. I smiled faintly, not angered. Yes, young people in love can't stand being apart for even a moment. Romeo and I were like that at 18. At the teacher appreciation banquet after the college entrance exam, he got drunk. Holding my hand, he proudly announced to everyone, "Once we graduate from college, I'm going to marry Chloe. Nothing in this world can ever tear us apart." After getting my wound treated, I walked out of the examination room, lost in memories. Because of my injured leg, my pace was slow. I called a taxi at the hospital entrance. As soon as I sat inside, a familiar black Bentley stopped just a few meters away. The door opened, and Romeo stepped out, faint anxiety in his expression. I stared, stunned. How did he even know I was hurt? I was just about to lower the window to call out to him. The young girl from the ward suddenly ran toward him and threw herself into his arms. Romeo took a step back, carefully avoiding her bandaged arm as he held her tightly. Through the car door, their voices came through faintly. "You're already hurt and still acting so reckless." She lifted her face and whined at him. "Because I haven't seen you for days, even if I'm hurt. I want a hug." Romeo's voice was full of helpless indulgence. "I really can't let you out of my sight. Not even for a second." He had said the exact same words to me when we were 20, after a fight with my mom. I was kicked out in the middle of the night, wandering aimlessly down the street, when I heard Romeo calling my name. I thought I was hallucinating. "Chloe." I looked up. He was standing in the moonlight, exhausted, eyes red. His gaze fell on the slap mark on my cheek, thick with heartache. "From now on, when you go home, I won't let you out of my sight. Not even for a second." It was raining outside. When Romeo came back, I was curled up on the sofa, hugging my knees. "Chloe, you're home. Why didn't you turn on the lights?" He pressed the switch, and the living room, originally in complete darkness, lit up at once. I stared at him blankly. My gaze slowly moved across his face, inch by inch, trying to find something different from how he used to be. But there was nothing. He was exactly the same as always. Romeo's eyes drifted downward, landing on the wound on my calf that was still oozing blood. His pupils tightened sharply. "How did you get hurt?" The worry and heartache on his face looked so real, nothing about it seemed fake. I opened my mouth, and suddenly tears fell. "It hurts. It really hurts." Aside from the sharp sting from the wound after it got wet, there was an even stronger ache in my chest, confusion and helplessness threatening to drown me. Romeo brought over the medical kit, held my ankle, and began tending to my wound. "Chloe, how exactly did this happen?" I answered softly. "I got into an accident on my way back today." "Why didn't you call me?" He stopped halfway through the sentence, as if he realized something. His gaze suddenly dropped, as though he were examining my injury carefully, but he deliberately avoided my eyes. I dug my nails into my palm, using every ounce of strength to keep my voice calm. When we video called yesterday, you said you had an important contract to negotiate today, so I didn't contact you. So, how did it go? Was the negotiation smooth? Romeo's eyelashes were long and thick. When he lowered them, they almost completely hid whatever emotion was in his eyes. He picked up a pair of tweezers and dabbed disinfectant onto the cotton ball. After a long time, he finally answered. It went well. After cleaning my wound, Romeo went to shower. I took his phone from the pocket of his jacket and easily unlocked it. He had added my fingerprint a long time ago, but I had never touched his phone. We'd been together for 10 years. I had always given him my absolute, unconditional trust, just as he had once given me, which was why, regarding this affair, he hadn't even bothered to cover anything up. The chat history was glaringly obvious, filled with flirtation between him and that young girl. Her name was Lillian, a junior from our department 7 years below us. Romeo called her Lily, because she complained about not getting along with her roommate. Romeo rented her an apartment outside the campus and even gave her a car. Lillian liked Disney plushies, so when he went to City C for business, he bought her 2 full boxes. She lined them up all over her sofa and sent him pictures. You only bought them for me, right? Your wife didn't get any, right? Romeo replied, no, she doesn't like these things like you do. Lillian complained, are you saying I'm childish? You're adorable. My fingertips slid down the screen little by little, my strength fading with every line I read. It turned out that before the new year, Romeo had suddenly gone to Tibet. He climbed 3,000 steps to get a peace amulet for Lillian, who had been sick. And during the class reunion in June, he excused himself halfway, saying something urgent had come up. It was because Lillian had gotten drunk and cried in a taxi on her way to see him. For a very, very long time, she had already woven herself into every crack of the life Romeo and I shared. I forced myself to suppress the pain that made my body tremble and scrolled all the way to the bottom. It was from today, after the accident. I took your wedding ring and threw it away, Lillian said arrogantly. Seeing it just pisses me off. It's like that woman is showing off in front of me. What's so great about her anyway? She just met you earlier than I did. So when exactly are you two getting divorced? And just moments before Romeo walked through the front door, he had replied to her, give it a little more time. I'll talk to her. Before Romeo came out from his shower, I had already put his phone back where it belonged. He didn't notice anything wrong. Toweling his hair dry, he told me to go to sleep soon. I didn't answer. I just stared at his bare ring finger. You haven't been wearing your wedding ring lately. His expression shifted subtly. He lowered his head to glance at his hand, playing it off. I went golfing with someone before, must have left it in the locker room. I'll have my assistant look for it tomorrow. You're hurt. Get some rest. Chloe. A wave of emotion surged up inside me, thick like fog swallowing me whole. I could barely breathe. After a long silence, I finally answered hoarsely. In the middle of the night, Romeo called out to me softly, Chloe, are you asleep? After confirming multiple times in a gentle voice that I seemed to be asleep, he got up. He went to the balcony to make a phone call. You saw my wife today? Lily, getting a divorce isn't as simple as you think. You've always been such a good girl. Don't start causing trouble now, okay? Just a few steps away, separated by a glass door, my husband was whispering comfort to his young lover. Of course I love you. I love you the most. His tone was soft, lingering, filled with affection. White smoke curled up between his fingers. I stared at him in a daze, until Romeo, sensing something, turned his head through the glass. Our eyes met. He froze in place. Chloe. I closed my eyes for a moment and asked in a hoarse voice, Romeo, who were you talking to? No one. There's a small issue with the new project proposal. Ding and the others were asking for my input. He pocketed his phone and walked toward me, his tone completely natural, as if he had used this exact same like countless times before. I smelled the faint trace of smoke clinging to him. I coughed twice, and he immediately reached out to feel my forehead. Alarmed. Are you getting a fever? It's been raining all night and it's cold. I'll get you an extra blanket later. As he spoke, his gaze swept calmly over my face, as though checking whether I had overheard what he said earlier. I pulled my pajama collar closer around myself and answered softly, "Okay." My tone was as gentle and steady as ever. Romeo gradually relaxed completely. "Go back to sleep." After lying back down on the bed, he quickly fell asleep. He tucked the blanket around me tightly, yet I just stared blankly at the dark ceiling. Every time I closed my eyes, I would think about the past. When I was 12, Romeo followed his mother to our small town while she was recovering from an illness. That was when he met me. Back then, I was always hungry. Every time my mom fought with my dad, she would punish me by making me stand in the courtyard. My younger brother would proudly gnaw on a drumstick right in front of me. He would say, "Hey, you worthless jinx. Mom says you'll only ever get to eat what I leave behind." Romeo would step right in, grab my hand in front of both my mom and my brother, and pull me away, taking me to his home for dinner. My mom, still fuming from the fight with my dad, couldn't vent her anger on me. She would shout from behind us, furious, "If you like her so much, why not take her as your child bride?" Romeo would suddenly stop, turn back with a grin, and say, "Fine, better than letting her starve to death in your house." After the college entrance exam, my parents finally ended their long, distorted marriage. My dad left without looking back. My mom warned me, "Chloe, you're 18 now. You're an adult. I have no obligation to keep supporting you. Don't expect a single cent from me again." I survived 4 years of university relying on student loans and scholarships. Romeo worked himself to the bone, saving up enough to start a business with a partner. During our senior year, he missed my birthday because of a drinking engagement. But even so, he still showed up late at night at my dorm with a bouquet in his hands. He shoved the flowers into my arms and hugged me tightly. "Chloe, I'll give you the best life." Later on, life really did get better and better. On our wedding day, Romeo held my hand and swore solemnly, "In this world, everything can change, but I will love Chloe forever and ever. I won't drift away. I won't fall out of love." I believed him so deeply, at least, until I discovered Lillian. I had always believed I was his one and only. When I woke up the next day, the rain had long stopped. Sunshine streamed outside the window, as if the whole world had no shadows at all. For a brief moment, I almost believed that everything that happened yesterday had only been a nightmare, until I moved slightly, and a sharp pain shot through the wound on my calf. Along with the pain came the overwhelming flood of memories from the day before. Lillian. At the very moment I thought of her name, heavy emotions swallowed my heart. Her inexplicable provocation and hostility in the clinic yesterday. Now it all made sense. I picked up my phone and saw that Romeo had sent me messages. "Chloe, since you're injured, rest a bit longer. I already asked for leave on your behalf at the company. There's something at work. I might be home a few hours late. Don't wait for me for dinner." I didn't reply. Instead, I took a taxi back to our alma mater. Class had just ended, and Lillian walked out of the school gates with her head held high. When she saw Romeo's Bentley parked there, she immediately threw herself at him. "Romeo, I missed you so much." Romeo wrapped an arm around her and kissed the tip of her nose with a smile. "Not mad at me anymore?" "I'm still mad, unless you coax me properly today." "Okay, I'll listen to whatever you want today." The two of them kissed for a long moment before finally pulling apart. I sat in the car, silently watching that Bentley drive farther and farther away. The driver glanced at me through the rearview mirror and asked carefully, "Do you want me to follow them?" I shook my head. "No need. Let's go back." It didn't take me much effort to find Lillian's social media account using the phone number I'd seen on Romeo's phone. She hadn't even tried to hide their relationship. Hundreds of posts documented every little detail between her and Romeo. "Fought with my roommate again. A bunch of bitches. My mom only tells me to reflect on myself. But Romeo immediately rented me an apartment in a luxury building. So this is what being loved feels like." Suddenly, I remembered. Back in college, because I refused to help my roommates cheat, my relationship with them had always been strained. They would even lock me out on purpose when I went to shower. At that time, Romeo wanted to rent a place off campus for me so I wouldn't have to suffer. But back then we were just poor students. Even a simple single room was expensive, so I never agreed. We even fought over it. They lock me out. I'll call the dorm lady. No need to waste that much money. Romeo pressed his lips together and looked at me. But I just want you to live better. I sighed softly. Romeo, I know how hard you work to earn money. I just want you to have it a little easier too. In the end, he didn't say anything else. He simply hugged me with his eyes turning red. Really wanted to go to Disneyland. I mentioned it to Romeo and he booked tickets immediately. Full VIP fast passes the whole way. Didn't let me suffer a single second. Thinking about how my mom is dragging her brat around sweating in line right now. It feels amazing. My fingers tightened around my phone as a sharp pain forced me to bend over. I remembered the summer when I was 15, the rare time my parents' relationship was peaceful. They locked me at home and took my younger brother to Hong Kong Disneyland. Romeo came to look for me and took me to the amusement park in the nearby city. The roller coaster was 15 yuan per ride. The carousel was 10 per round. The equipment was old, but I still had so much fun, because these were things I had never been allowed to have. Romeo stood nearby, watching me the whole time, his eyes gradually reddening. On the way back, walking under the moonlight, I heard him say, "Chloe, I'll take you to Disneyland someday. You can stay there for as long as you want." Later, we graduated and got married. We had planned to go to Disneyland once, but something urgent came up at his company, so we canceled. Romeo looked at me apologetically, and I gently reassured him, "It's really not that important whether we go or not. Romeo, I'm not a child anymore. I won't be sad just because I can't go to an amusement park. You don't need to worry so much." At the time, he looked at me for a long moment before finally answering. He never brought up Disneyland again. Now I finally know. He had gone with Lillian. I scrolled through Lillian's posts for a long time. By the end, the pain in my chest spread in fine, suffocating waves. I didn't want to look anymore. I wiped my tears and was about to exit her profile. But just as I tapped the screen, a new post refreshed. Posted 3 minutes ago. It was a photo of her wearing a revealing nightgown, with a man's hand faintly visible beside her. There was a bright red kiss mark on her collarbone. Someone really has a unique way of coaxing me. My waist is about to break. My throat hurts. And he's acting like nothing happened. In the comments, an account using a matching couple's avatar with her replied, "Call me old man again and see what happens." It was Romeo. Lillian pouted and begged. I was wrong. Romeo. A wave of nausea surged violently up my throat. I stumbled into the bathroom and bent over, retching hard. But since I hadn't eaten anything all day, nothing came out. Light wavered in front of my eyes, everything turning blurry. Holding my stomach, I collapsed onto the cold bathroom floor. Romeo didn't come home until the next evening. As soon as he entered, he took out a small box and handed it to me. His face was full of apology. "Chloe." I had my assistant look everywhere, but we still couldn't find the ring I lost. Back then, I didn't have much money and the rings we bought were simple, so I thought I'd replace them with a better pair for you. I looked at his palm. On the black velvet lay 2 shining platinum diamond rings, expensive at a single glance. The look in his eyes was so sincere, as if he had always carried absolute devotion, never once wavering. I stared at the rings for a long moment before lifting my head. "You were gone all night last night. Where were you?" After the drinking event, it was already very late. I'd had alcohol, and didn't want to call a driver, so I stayed at a hotel nearby. He stopped halfway, stunned as he saw the tears streaming down my face. I curved my lips into a trembling smile as my vision blurred under the rain of tears. From the moment I learned about him and Lillian, the word divorce had already begun taking shape in my heart. But I could never say it. From 12 to 28, this wasn't just ending a relationship. Our lives had long since grown into each other, inseparable at every seam. To end it now felt like tearing off a piece of my own body. A bloody, excruciating price. I replayed the past thousands of times, but I still couldn't understand where things had gone wrong. Was it because I wasn't good enough? Was that why his heart had drifted to someone else? "Chloe, you." Romeo reached out to hold my hand in shock and distress, but only brushed past my fingertips. The world suddenly swayed violently. It took me a few seconds to realize. An earthquake. Above us, the huge crystal chandelier shook, cracked, and then fell, Without hesitation, Romeo lunged toward me, shielding my entire body underneath his. His scent, familiar yet now foreign, closed over me like a flood. In the rising dust, I saw the two sparkling rings roll for just a moment, then disappear into the wreckage. Thick, warm liquid dripped onto my face, drop by drop, carrying the metallic smell of blood. Later, I learned that the city we lived in had suffered a magnitude 6.4 earthquake. Our apartment was on a very high floor, so the shaking felt especially violent. But at that moment, I knew nothing. I just sat outside the emergency room in the middle of the night, staring blankly at the red light glowing above the door. There were many injured people from the quake nearby. The muffled sound of a girl crying came and went. Someone comforted her. "It's going to be okay." Someone else came up to me. "Big sister, is your family also inside being treated?" I shook my head, then nodded. "My husband." Maybe I sounded too calm. She froze, then quickly stepped away. Soon after, whispers drifted over. "How come she doesn't look worried at all?" Ha, people like that. Maybe she's waiting for her husband to die so she can inherit his money. Stay away from her. I tugged at my lips but didn't argue. I was only thinking, if Romeo didn't love me, why did he risk his life at that moment to save me? But if he loved me, why was he entangled with Lillian? Can someone's heart really belong to two people at the same time? I couldn't understand. I would never understand. The crystal chandelier had been too heavy. When it fell, it fractured multiple bones in Romeo's scapula, back, and arm. Luckily, none of the injuries were life-threatening. By the following evening, he woke up. During that time, his phone screen lit up again and again, messages piling in. Several missed calls. My fingerprint could unlock it, but I didn't even look. When Romeo woke, I simply said calmly, "There's a strange number. They called you more than 10 times. He paused, then said, "After an earthquake, everyone's frantic." Maybe it was a wrong number. I didn't argue, just nodded wearily. "I'm too tired. I'm going to sleep for a bit." These days, my sleep had been extremely light, so when I heard the faint sound behind me in the middle of the night, I woke almost instantly. I didn't move. I just lay there silently as Romeo walked into the bathroom. He dialed a number. "It's me. Don't cry. Lily, I'm okay. Sweetheart." Yes, the shaking was very strong, but when I think of you, I'm not afraid of anything. Moonlight, pale and cold, filtered through the shadows of the trees. With my back to him, pretending to sleep, I kept crying, tears falling nonstop. Love is a completely subjective concept. Perhaps to Romeo, it had never been singular. So even though the fractures made it painful for him to sleep, he still lowered his voice, gentle, patient, comforting Lillian. "Lily, your safety is more important. Don't run around. You don't need to come see me. Take care of yourself first." But just like how she deliberately provoked me the moment she recognized me, Lillian had never been a well-behaved or obedient girl. The next day, when she came to the hospital, the girl in the next bed was still looking at me with envy. "Your husband didn't even care about his own life to save you. He treats you so well." I forced the corners of my lips upward. "Yeah." A nurse poked her head in. "Patient Romeo and family member. Dr. Lou is calling you to the consultation room." I still remember. On that day, the sunlight was perfect, bright and blazing. I carefully supported Romeo's uninjured arm as we walked out of the ward together. And the next second, I met Lillian's gaze just 2 steps away. Her eyes were red, and she almost choked when she called out, "Romeo." The suffocating silence lasted only a moment. Then I said calmly, "Please move aside. The doctor asked us to go to the consultation room." Lillian looked at me, as if that single sentence instantly ignited her anger. "Why are you pretending? Didn't you already recognize me long ago?" She spoke with naked hostility. "Do you really think that acting deaf and dumb means you can pretend nothing happened? I'm telling you, old woman, Romeo hasn't loved you for a long time. Even if you act all pitiful like this, he'll just find you disgusting. Don't think you can use your marriage to pressure me. Love has never needed morals, and Romeo has always wanted to divorce you. You're the one clinging to him like a parasite." The more she cursed, the more worked up she became. Suddenly she reached out and yanked at me. I instinctively stepped back. and she smirked triumphantly before shoving me hard. Chloe! With a loud thud, the back of my head slammed against the wall. I collapsed to the floor, and what hurt even worse than my skull was the stabbing, tearing pain in my lower abdomen, along with the warm, red liquid slowly spreading beneath me. Blood. Romeo saw that vivid red, and his pupils contracted violently. He almost panicked as he crouched down, trying to help me up. Chloe, don't listen to her nonsense. I don't even know her. Even now, he was still lying, still trying to hide it. I closed my eyes when I spoke. My voice trembled. Romeo, that day of the car accident, you came to pick her up at the hospital. I was sitting in the car right next to you, watching the two of you. Romeo stared at me blankly. His breathing turned unsteady, and little by little, raw fear seeped into his eyes as he looked at me. Chloe. So I already knew about her. Knew about your relationship. Miss Lillian, right? I braced myself against the wall and pushed myself up unsteadily. Blood slid down my legs, blooming into a shocking crimson stain on the floor. Romeo tried to help me, but I slapped his hand away. I lifted my gaze and looked straight at Lillian. Unfortunately for you, pushing me just caused a miscarriage. This already counts as intentional harm. The hospital hallway surveillance should have recorded everything clearly. Lillian, see you at the police station. When the police arrived in the hospital ward, the arrogant, superior, provocative expression on Lillian's face disappeared instantly. Panic flooded her eyes as she repeatedly explained to the officers. I didn't mean to. I didn't even know she was pregnant. My boyfriend was right next to me. He can vouch for me. Miss Lillian, I said calmly, I should remind you, before I divorce him, Romeo is my husband first, and only then the so-called boyfriend you're talking about. And whether or not you knew I was pregnant makes no difference to the harm you caused. There were witnesses in the hallway, in addition to the security cameras. I paused, then looked at the police officers again. I want to file a lawsuit against her. Chloe. After I finished speaking, Romeo, who had been standing silently to the side, finally spoke. You don't have to do this, okay? I turned to him. What do you think I am doing, Romeo? You're my husband. A woman intentionally pushed me and caused me to miscarry. Do you think there's something wrong with how I'm handling it? He couldn't refute me. He could only speak with difficulty. Lillian is still young. She's still a student. If you really sue her, it will ruin her future. I'm sorry. It's all my fault, Chloe. For the sake of me saving your life that night. My gaze dropped. I had thought my heart had already gone cold. Like still, dead water. But it still hurt. The Romeo who risked his life to save me was now using that same moment as a bargaining chip to beg me to spare his lover. The harsh white ward lighting illuminated his young, handsome face clearly, mercilessly. I lifted my head again, studying Romeo carefully, as if seeing him for the first time. I can choose not to pursue the case, but as the party at fault in this marriage, you should make concessions in the division of property. That shouldn't be a problem, right, Romeo? He froze. It took him a long time to find his voice again. What do you mean, Chloe? I looked at him, speaking slowly and steadily, finally able to say the words I never got to finish the night of the earthquake. Romeo, let's get a divorce. Every bit of color drained from his face. For a moment, I thought I saw something glimmer in his eyes, like he was about to cry. Chloe, I don't want to divorce you, he rambled. I still love you. I still love you. But halfway through, seeing me sitting pale on the hospital bed, he abruptly fell silent. I knew he must have remembered too. Because of childhood neglect, both of us had always wanted a child. Just one child, so we could give him all the love in the world. In the second year of our marriage, I had gotten pregnant once. Back then, Romeo's company ran into trouble and was being deliberately sabotaged. He begged everywhere for help, but no one would lend a hand. I used my own work connections and finally managed to approach someone with influence. To show sincerity, I drank an entire bottle of white liquor in front of him. Only then did he agree to help, and we lost our child. I was sent to the hospital, stomach pumped, then a curettage procedure. When I woke up in the ward, Romeo was holding me, crying like a child. Chloe, I'll never let you suffer again. It doesn't matter if we have kids or not. I only want you. I'll only ever want you. I truly, wholeheartedly believed him. But in the end, he was the one who broke that promise first. Pulling myself out of the memory, I looked at Romeo's despairing eyes. Strangely, I felt nothing but emptiness. You were the one who cheated. You were the one who fell out of love. Stop pretending you're heartbroken, Romeo. We're both adults. All this talk about not wanting a divorce is just because you don't want to get less money in the settlement. I closed my eyes. I won't force you. Think carefully about what you want. That night, I lay on the hospital bed. The pain after the uterine evacuation surgery twisted in my lower abdomen like a tightly knotted rope. It kept me wide awake. Moonlight cast the swaying shadows of trees onto the wall, as if pulling me back to a time long, long ago. That day was our graduation ceremony. Still dressed in our academic gowns, he held a bouquet of flowers and proposed to me. He said, "Chloe, I want to give you the very best future." Our wedding was simple. Romeo's parents had passed away early, and my mother had already cut ties with me. We only invited a few teachers and classmates we were close to. What little savings we had was spent on a pair of wedding rings, beautiful platinum bands, inlaid with a row of almost invisible small diamonds, our initials engraved on the inside. With a guilty expression, Romeo said, "I'll buy you a better one in the future." I shook my head and carefully slipped the ring onto my finger like a treasure. "As long as it's from you, I'll love it no matter what. Besides, even if we become wealthy, I don't want to replace it. Its meaning is different to me." Romeo never understood. What I wanted was never diamonds, never the ring. I wanted unwavering sincerity, but he failed to give me that. A night breeze slipped in through the window that hadn't been fully closed, bringing a faint whistling sound. I clutched the blanket, and tears suddenly fell. 3 days later, I was discharged from the hospital, with the lawyer who had drafted the divorce agreement. I met with Romeo. The part where he had fractured his bone was still wrapped in bandages and plaster. He looked exhausted. I said calmly, "It seems you've thought it through. You were the one at fault in the first place. Being able to exchange a portion of your assets for Lillian's future staying intact, this trade should still be worthwhile for you." In front of him, I had always been gentle, patient, and understanding, acting strictly businesslike now. Giving him no room to maneuver must have felt utterly unfamiliar to him. So he stared at me blankly. "Chloe, you've really changed a lot. I still remember when we were 12, when I just moved to the town with my mom. You were always being beaten, couldn't even get enough to eat. I brought you home for meals, took you to the amusement park, helped you break free from your mother's control, but I don't know when it happened, you no longer needed me." I listened and replied flatly, "Oh, so that's your reason for cheating? Romeo, even if you want to sneak around, you could have picked someone better. But no, you chose to be with a homewrecker. Morally rotten. What? Is that the only type that matches you now?" My gaze was sharp, mocking, with the lawyer sitting nearby. He probably felt humiliated. "Chloe, listen to yourself, you're being so harsh." Romeo looked at me deeply. "After we got married, you became less and less like the Chloe I used to know. She's very much like the old you. Her family doesn't value her, and she doesn't get along with her classmates. Back then, I couldn't help you. Now I can help her. When I look at her, it feels like I'm going back in time, saving the 18-year-old you over and over again. But it's not that I don't love you anymore. Chloe, I never wanted to separate from you." His last sentence was spoken slowly and sincerely. As he talked, he kept rubbing his fingertips with his uninjured hand. It was his habit whenever he felt nervous and uneasy. I suddenly realized that even now, even when our marriage and love had reached a dead end, I still remembered every little detail about Romeo. Childhood sweethearts for 15 years, lovers for 10. After cutting ties completely with my original family, he became the only person I invested all my feelings in. How could I not love him? How could I not hate him? Romeo, in this world, who do you think will need your rescue forever? I couldn't help but laugh, laughing so hard tears nearly spilled. I always thought that in marriage, we should be like two boats sailing through storms together. I tried to grow quickly, because I couldn't expect you to protect me or rescue me forever. So I worked desperately to rise up, wanting to stand shoulder to shoulder with you. In the end, you blamed me for not staying as a helpless vine forever, clinging to you for support. But if I really had stayed that way, you would have blamed me too, for never improving after all these years. Just admit it. Romeo, you transferred your feelings. You fell for someone else. When you couldn't find novelty in me anymore, you went to Lillian. I just don't understand, since you already loved someone else. Why couldn't you tell me? We could have separated. I don't want to leave you. Romeo's voice was hoarse, almost choked. Chloe, I love you. I really love you. Many years ago, when we were both 18, he stood beneath the wisteria waterfall outside our school and confessed to me with those exact words. Not a single word different. Back then, we were young. Summer was bright, and even the wind was gentle. My ears burned. My heart raced like thunder. Now, I simply curled my lips calmly. If you love me that much, then give me a little more of the property on the divorce agreement. Because of Romeo's injuries, our divorce procedures were delayed for 2 months before they were finally completed. We split our savings 70-30. With me taking the 70, the company shares were divided equally, but my half was converted into cash. I took the newly renovated villa we had finished decorating 6 months ago. As for the place we were living in now, because the chandelier had fallen and the entire living room needed to be redone, I left it, along with the car, to Romeo. When the false shell of love is stripped away, a marriage in its final stage is nothing more than raw money and naked human nature. After laying out the property division plan, I looked at Romeo across from me. If you have any objections, you can bring them up. We can discuss. He slowly shook his head. I have no objections, Chloe. I went back to the bedroom, packed my things, and when I dragged my suitcase out the door, I finally heard him call after me. His voice was soft, but thick with suppressed sobs. Chloe, will we ever see each other again? I didn't look back. Romeo, there won't be you in my future anymore. Once unfaithful, forever useless. I moved into the villa that had been aired out for half a year, taking out each belonging one by one and putting them in place. Throughout the entire process, my emotions remained calm, until, inside the stack of documents I had left behind during that business trip, I found the ultrasound report. The pain and confusion I had been trying so hard to bury burst instantly from my chest, spreading through every vein. And after being suppressed for so long, the backlash was even more violent. My whole body convulsed with pain. My fingertips trembled as I clenched the report, and I crouched down, heart-shattering. Tearing sobs burst out of me. Romeo would never, ever know. When I returned from that business trip, I had intended to tell him I was pregnant, but after an unexpected car accident, I witnessed with my own eyes the affair between him and Lillian, and everything fell apart afterward. Those days, I lay awake all night, thinking over and over again. Of course I couldn't keep this child, but when to end the pregnancy, and how to use it to gain something in return. Romeo wasn't wrong. Over the years, I had gradually become a woman so rational and calm that it bordered on coldness. Or perhaps, I had always been this way. When I was young, my mother used to jab my forehead and curse at me. Who are you giving that dead-faced look to every day? I'm telling you, Chloe, I should have strangled you the day you were born. She had never loved me, so I repaid her fairly. I didn't love her either. When she became gravely ill, I only sent money. I never went back to see her even once. From birth until now, I had only ever received love from one person, Romeo, so I had only ever loved him. The summer when we were 17, he rode an old, battered bicycle and took me through every street and alley of the small town. By the newly dug artificial lake, willow branches hung like green silk threads. We sat side by side on a bench, drinking chilled orange soda. I didn't know who moved the first inch closer, but moments later our shoulders touched. Romeo as a boy was sincere and blazing. His body heat seemed to burn through the summer air. He secretly held my hand so tightly. He was sweating from nervousness. He told me seriously, Chloe, I want to get into the same university as you. We will never, ever be separated. I believed every promise, even though the word forever sounded so unreal, so impossible. As long as he said it, I believed it. But now, vows have expired, promises have turned to ashes, and lovers have parted. At the cost of something like carving bone from flesh. I cut Romeo out of my life. Yet countless cracks remain. Cracks that will never be filled again. When Lillian rushed furiously to the front of my company building to block my way, I had just successfully wrapped up a major project. The company issued bonuses and approved half a month of annual leave for me. I had just pulled open my car door when someone suddenly charged at me from the side, slamming into me so hard I staggered back a step. Once I steadied myself, I finally recognized her, Lillian. She had lost quite a bit of weight, and her complexion looked worn and haggard. She glared at me with near hatred. You clearly promised Romeo that as long as you were satisfied with the property division, you wouldn't make things difficult for me anymore. I raised my brow slightly. Let me correct that. I promised not to press charges against you. That doesn't mean I won't send evidence of you knowingly being a homewrecker to your school and your parents. Junior Lillian, weren't those hundreds of tweets you posted back then very bold and high profile? My alma mater had always held exceptionally strict standards for conduct and student behavior. I printed out Lillian's tweets, the ambiguous records and photos between her and Romeo, and the police report from the time she pushed me and caused my miscarriage. A thick stack. I delivered it to the school in person. The school administrators assured me that once verified, a student with such improper conduct would definitely face expulsion. But after leaving the school, I still felt it wasn't enough. I mailed another copy to her parents and neighbors. Lillian's parents had never liked her much. Now that she had embarrassed them in front of relatives and acquaintances, they despised her even more. Lillian stared at me, then suddenly said, "So what if you're proud of yourself now? You still couldn't keep a man." You could only watch helplessly as he shifted his feelings and fell in love with me. "I'm young and fresh. Now that you've stepped aside, I'm going to marry Romeo." The more she talked, the gentler the smile on my lips became. Young and fresh, if those are the words you want to use to price yourself, I have no objection. It's just a pity, Miss Lillian. Men always love 18. In a few years, you'll end up just like me. I took most of the assets, and I have my own career. But you, someone expelled from school for immoral behavior, someone even your own family sees as a disgrace, you'd better grab as much money as you can after you marry. Otherwise, when the next shameless woman like you appears, you'll end up homeless. Chloe! She screamed, lunging forward to hit me, but the hand she raised high was caught firmly by me. The parking lot was dimly lit, and the surveillance camera had broken yesterday. No one had come to fix it yet. I swung my hand back and slapped her across the face, then kicked her hard in the lower abdomen. Lillian fell to the ground in humiliation, the pain so intense she couldn't get up. Looking down on her from above, I smiled lightly, returning it to you, Lillian. I've always been a very fair person. When spring arrived, one day, as I stepped out of my house, I found Romeo standing at the door. His hands were tucked into the pockets of his trench coat, leaning against the street lamp, just staring at me in a daze. After I moved out that day, we never saw each other again. Counting up to today, it had already been nearly half a year. His hair had grown longer, and he had lost a significant amount of weight. The sharp lines of his already cold features looked even more severe. There was even a kind of desolate thinness to him. He looked at me with eyes faintly reddened. "Chloe." I stopped walking. "How did you get in?" "I came here a few times during the renovation. The security guards know me." "Oh," I replied expressionlessly. "I'll go talk to them later. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. They shouldn't let you in the future. And please don't come to bother me again. We're not children. We both know this kind of behavior is just emotional self-comfort. Even if you wait here for 10,000 days, we will never go back." Romeo looked at me with something close to despair. For a long moment, he pulled out a smile uglier than crying. "I know. I just came to tell you." He took his hand out of his pocket and opened his palm before me. Lying there were 2 slender platinum wedding bands. Because of the years that had passed, the surfaces bore many scratches. Their shine dimmed. Inside the bands were the initials of our names, our wedding rings. He said, "I found them." My ring, I hadn't taken it with me when I moved, and his had been tossed away long ago by the spoiled, willful Lillian. I didn't know how much effort it took for him to retrieve them. I stared silently at the rings resting in his pale palm for a moment, then lifted my head. "So? What's the point?" Maybe my gaze was too cold, too sharp. leaving him no room at all. Like a helpless child, he pulled his hand back, clenched it, rubbed at his reddened eyes. It took him a long while before he finally spoke, his voice hoarse. "There's no point. You'll never forgive me again, will you?" I let out a soft laugh. Of course not. At that time, I didn't yet know that this would be the last conversation I would ever have with Romeo in this lifetime. But after that day, for 3 whole months, he never appeared again, until spring came, and the willow branches in the garden sprouted new green. One day after returning home from work, I found a well-dressed man standing at my door. When I got closer, he looked a bit familiar. He was Romeo's lawyer friend, Chloe. I didn't unlock the door, I just turned my head, looking at him calmly. "I have nothing to do with Romeo anymore." "I know," he said, "but in Romeo's will, he wrote that all of his inheritance is left to you." Time pushed its second hand forward, rewinding us back to last year, the 3rd day after that earthquake. The doctor noticed something unusual in the shadow on Romeo's x-ray and wanted us to go to the consultation room to run a full set of examinations. But before we could get there, Lillian, who had rushed to the hospital, pulled him aside, and everything collapsed after that. After I left, Romeo refused to marry Lillian. She threw tantrums and chaos at him for quite a while before calming down. Only then did he return to the hospital. After the examination, the doctor confirmed that the shadow was a bone tumor, and the pathology result was malignant. After that, Romeo stayed in the hospital for chemotherapy and had several surgeries. But the cancer cells kept spreading. In the end, nothing more could be done. His voice carried a slight nasal tremor. In the last 2 months, the way he looked lying there in the ward, so thin he was unrecognizable. Whenever the pain made him delirious, he kept calling your name. "We tried to contact you again and again, even just for one last visit, but Romeo refused. Before he died, he cried constantly. He said he regretted everything, and the person he wronged the most was you, Chloe. All of us have seen your years of relationship. He really did do something unforgivable to you." But he stopped mid-sentence when he saw that my expression was still calm, completely untouched. Unable to continue, he simply took a document from his briefcase and handed it to me. "This is the inheritance transfer agreement. Look it over. If there's no issue, just sign." Romeo left everything he had to me, not only the company savings and the house and car, but also the old home in our town. In June, during my vacation, I took a trip back there. Because of tourism development, the place had been packaged into a picturesque ancient town. Even the old houses on the street we once lived on had all been sold and repurposed for commercial use. Only Romeo's house remained empty, unsold, and uninhabited. And because I didn't want to see my mother, we hadn't returned for years. After a long journey, I arrived at dusk. I unlocked the heavy bronze lock and pushed open the old wooden door. Dust rose into the air. The courtyard was overrun with weeds, and even the stone path was covered with thick moss. My family's former house next door had long been sold and turned into a bar. At this moment, the singer inside was strumming and softly singing. "At every crucial moment you're always so clear, seeing through your own uncertainty, matching my wandering, awake inside dying, understanding how clever you were behind my back." I clenched the key so hard that the sharp edges cut into my palm, blooming with raw, stinging pain. In the biting night wind, the shifting lights before my eyes blurred and twisted, like space and time collapsing into each other. For a moment, I almost hallucinated. In that hallucination, it felt as if I had gone back to being 15. Neither my father nor my mother liked me. Even on my birthday, I didn't have a cake. Romeo would place a small wooden box on the stone table in his courtyard. Whether it was my birthday, New Year's Eve, or any other holiday, opening that box felt like a fairy godmother's magic, or a treasure hunt fairy tale. There was always a gift lying inside. "Chloe, I'm going to give you birthday presents until the year we both turn 100. 15-year-old Romeo spoke with complete sincerity. I shook my head. 100 is too far away. How can anyone plan something so far into the future? I can. His eyes were bright, honest and burning. As long as I'm alive, you'll have a gift every year on your birthday. I'll keep my word. If there ever comes a year I don't give one, it would only be because I'm dead. I was just about to say something more when I suddenly froze. That sister, why is she crying? Romeo followed my gaze. There was nothing there. He patted the top of my head. There's no one. You're not trying to scare me on purpose, are you? I rubbed my eyes, and when I looked again, indeed, there was nothing. Maybe I stayed up too late studying last night. My eyes must have been playing tricks on me. Time returned to the present. I walked in step by step, heading toward the desk. The wooden box was still there in its original place, looking worn and dilapidated. My hands trembled as I pulled open the drawer. With two crisp little clicks, two dull, slender platinum rings fell out. Inside the rings were the initials of Romeo's and my name. All the strength drained from my body in an instant. I raised a hand to cover my eyes as tears poured down like rain. The Romeo of our youth, with 100% sincerity in his heart, made a promise, and the young Chloe was simply happy. Happy that she could walk with the person beside her, all the way to 100 years old. Back then, neither of us knew. 15-year-old Romeo fired a shot into the void, and many years later, it struck the center of 28-year-old Romeo's brow.